Welcome to the Life Success and Legacy Podcast. We're glad you're here, and we hope you enjoy the episode.
Hey, everybody. I want to welcome you back to the next episode of the Life Success Legacy Podcast. I'm Chris Bay, and I am joined by a dear, dear friend, Teri Wilkinson. Teri, thank you for joining today. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Aloha.
So happy to be here. Aloha.
So we got to be together recently on the island of Oahu. That is not your island, though, right?
No.
So why don't you introduce yourself a little bit and tell people where you live, where you're from, and that you are an island girl.
Yep. Perfect. I am Teri Wilkinson, and I actually live on the island of Kauai. It is the oldest island of all of the Hawaiian chain, and it is what most people know as the Garden Isle because it definitely is the greenest. It is by far the prettiest of all the islands, and Mount Waialeale gets the most rain per year of the whole world, and that's why it is so green and so beautiful here. I am a personal trainer, massage therapist, group exercise instructor, and I have been doing that for 30 and 35 years. So it is definitely my passion. It is what I love to do. And building the relationships with those people is just priceless. I could not ask for a better job, and every day it is definitely a blessing, one, to be on this island, and two, to still be able to work with people and build those relations. So
yeah. And you haven't always been on the island. At some point you transitioned from the mainland, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
yes, I came from outside of Houston area, actually before knowing Pay and Michael. I was in the Woodlands for 9 years before coming out here, but I've come to the island since early 2000. So I joke with people telling the story of I begged some husbands, I begged relations. No one wanted to move out here with me. Hey, truth is truth, you know. My daddy raised me to be a strong, independent woman, so I don't think that was to my benefit in some marriage. But I would not have wanted to be on Hawaii with any of those people at this point. So I came out with my partner now, who has been my partner for a while. Wasn't at the time of coming out here, but he moved out here with me and decided that it was home for him too. And so this is where we have decided to stay. But I mean, I loved Texas area while I was out there. There are two things I miss. That is my big purple truck. And I miss country and Western dancing. So those are the two things I miss about Texas. Other than that, like I said, every morning I wake up and I still pinch myself to go, oh, do I really live here?
Right.
Every day, it never gets old.
And so being in the health and wellness industry, which is not known for its high compensation, but the islands are known for their high living expenses.
Yes.
How in the world do you make all of that work?
There's some interesting things when I moved here to the islands.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, it is more expensive to live here, but in the world of teaching classes and personal training, I actually do get paid more out here than I did on the mainland. So that makes up for some of it.
Okay.
I do work. I have an abundance. I mean, I could work more hours in the day if I wanted to. There is not a lack thereof for work in my world of fitness and massage when you're good. I mean, there is still such a demand, whether it's in the resorts or whether it's privately, that is not an issue. So I actually did get a little raise coming out here. Property taxes are also much less here than they were in Texas, which was surprising.
That is surprising.
So I went from a 1,400 square foot townhome in the Woodlands, which my property taxes were about $6,000 a year.
Okay.
my space is less. I'm in a 651 square foot condo that
Yeah.
now costs 4 times more than what that home costs in Texas. But my property taxes are like $150 for the year. So
Really?
that was a big savings. And then the two other big ticket items, my homeowner's insurance and my car insurance, were actually several $100s less per year here in Hawaii than they were back in Texas too.
The
So
homeowner's insurance surprises me.
well, both homeowners and the car insurance surprised me too,
Yeah.
that those were different. Now because of the Lahaina fires,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily homeowners insurance, but condo insurances, like for my association, went up dramatically.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that pretty much boosted my homeowners association double what it was.
Yeah.
But the homeowners part that I still carry still is less than what it was in Texas per year. So I got a benefit there, and then you just make it work. I have lots of friends who fish and who have mango trees and avocados and all of that. So you are more selective with your groceries because everything is more expensive. But I also am so blessed to get all that stuff. I mean, we get fresh ahi, fresh aku, which is in the ahi family, from some of our friends, several times a month that
Wow.
they went fishing and they gave it to us. I always have, it's mango season now.
Mm-hmm.
So I have friends and clients that it's an overabundance. So I've got mangoes to eat. So you just learn how to live.
Yeah.
It is expensive, but it can be done.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I will say too, Chris, that if I would have waited to retire to move out here, I would have never been able to afford it, because 9 years ago, it was almost a lateral move. My condo or my townhome out there sold for about 180. The condo I bought here was 218. So it was a $50,000 difference. So more of a lateral move. I mean, this condo is now selling for over 600s, and that townhome would have been nowhere near.
Yeah.
With housing being $1.5 million here, I mean, everything happens when it's supposed to. And if I wouldn't have made that move, I might not be here now. So
Yeah.
so
Well, and we recently, the Life Success Legacy team, went out to the islands recently, and we did a boot camp on Oahu, and you came and participated in that. And I'm wondering, for our listeners who couldn't be there, the beginning of it, which we were all surprised by, you all did a little ceremony for us.
don't make me cry.
Would you be willing to just give a word picture of what you all did for us at the beginning of the boot camp? Because it set the tone for an experience for us that is unlike any other boot camp that we've done.
Well, simply put, that is the spirit of the aloha, right? So, I mean, the Hawaiian people, aloha, that word means hello, it means goodbye, it means love, it means everything. So when visitors are coming, when friends are coming, when Ohana family is coming, you just bring your best. And so that's what we wanted to do. I mean, we wanted you all to not forget us. You came all that way. Let me wipe my eyes for just a second. Came all that way for us. And we just felt so special and so blessed for you all to come all the way out, because we feel like we miss out not being on the mainland with y'all. So we wanted to make sure that you did not forget it. So yes, the gentlemen got the tea leaf leis. We had made some hakus for the ladies, which
Sean
were all
still has it sitting on our dining room table around a candle. She still has it there.
And she'll be able to keep that forever, even as it dries out. One of my gals at one of the places that I teach at, she always had her hakus and kept them for years and years, just dried out, and would wear them on our sun visors and stuff. So the ladies hakus, and then the ladies some extra care skin gifts and that were made here on Hawaii, and some of our aloha bags and stuff. But that basically is our simplest form of saying aloha. And mahalo. Thank you too for, like I said, we just felt so special to have y'all come out and come all the way to us. And for me, it was cool because that was my first, like Darlene said, boot camps are at like 4:30 in the morning, which
For you guys.
I'm already up at 4 and I'm out the door to teach a class. So I have to leave at 5 a.m. So I don't get to see any of your boot camps because that's every day I'm out the door at 5 a.m. But that was my first experience of boot camp too, and being able to do it since they're not recorded. So
Right.
it was amazing. The energy in there was amazing.
It was, wasn't it?
I mean, we could have went on forever and ever, and they had to kick us out of that room at 2
We
o'clock.
usually wrap up around 12:30, and they were kicking us out. It was like 2.
Yes.
We started, I mean, people were showing up around 8:30 or 9, and then we had breakfast, and then, oh my gosh, the lunch, that's the best lunch we've ever had.
Awesome.
It was really wonderful. So, well, we felt special. You all made us feel special. So thank you.
You're welcome. So
Yeah.
next time you got to
Mahalo.
come to Kauai.
Kauai. I've been to Kauai before.
Yes, you and I had talked
so I've
about
now
that.
been to 3 islands, and I tend to gravitate more towards the more nature-based islands for me. Yeah. Okay, let's get into this. So you came to IBC a little differently. So one, I just want to recognize, because of living on the islands and a lot of our clients that are out there, like, you have to be very, very conscious of your finances, right? So you're always, much like our family being single income education, right, at the time, we're always looking to squeeze as much out of every dollar as we can.
Yes.
So you've been on this adventure learning about finance so that you can do the things that you love to do in a place that you love with people that you love, right?
Yep.
So what has that financial journey taken you? Because you came to us kind of a little bit different than some people do.
Right. Well, I actually starting way back when, just in the world of finance. I mean, my dad always told me, if you don't have cash, you don't buy something. So that's basically how I lived my whole life. So looking on the chart where you actually make and draw us, if you save your money to buy a car and then that money's gone, and you go up and down, all of that interest that you could have earned, you've lost. Whereas I was not one who bought a lot of things, not even some of my this house and my house before, they were paid off. Actually, that was the mindset of my father telling me, if you don't have cash, you don't pay for something.
Right.
So IBC taught me about, I lost interest that I could have earned on that money, even though I wasn't one who paid interest and had a lot of loans. So I realized that, that was an eye opener for me too, that like, oh, yep, I was the saver. Save it till you have it, then you deplete, then you save again, then you deplete.
Same.
So that was where my mindset was. And also putting all your money in 401k, whatever the company matches, all of that accumulation, so that you have enough to retire. So that's where my whole mindset and my growth was from young adulthood. When I learned about 101 finance, which I actually didn't have any debts because I'm a saver, right?
And just for our listeners, can you give a quick little, what is 101 finance?
Yes.
Just because they probably haven't heard that from us.
So 101 finance is basically a education platform that teaches people basic income and expenses and their debts. And what we teach at 101 is, once you have some cash flow, so once you have more income than you have expenses, you can utilize that cash flow to pay down any debts that you have. So 101 teaches those basic financial principles. And I never
And just for our listeners, we've referred some of our folks to 101 who have asked us, like, we really need some help with just basic budgeting. And that's not really what we do, right? And so we're like, but we do have a resource.
Yeah, and that platform that 101 has is awesome, because once you put in your expenses, once you put in your income, you don't have to keep putting it in. It auto generates all of that stuff for you. And then when people are ready to tackle debt, that's when, if they can qualify for a line of credit of some sort, we help them to pay down that debt fast. So then they can go on to those next steps of saving for their future. And so if it really wasn't for 101, which most people think when they hear 101, IBC, TARDIS, they think it's a scam.
Yes.
So if it really wasn't for being a part of 101, I probably never would have gotten to TARDIS, because I too would have thought, oh, TARDIS is a scam. And I would have never gotten to IBC, because again, I would have said, this is all too good to be true.
But in reality, they all intersect for you in your life, and how you've made your finances work for you.
I think it was actually, each one of them was a growth though. 101 is your basic tool, right? And that's what we talk about, where you all don't teach budgeting.
Right.
So you can only go so far in 101. 101 does not do well with teaching people how to create that future. TARDIS helps do that through cash flow mindset, not accumulation. And then and really, all with the IBC, you do in ways do all of that.
Yeah,
because
it's the foundation. It's controlling your banking function, and then you can figure out how to do budgeting, and then it's the four things that IBC does that we talk about all the time. Number one, eliminate outside debt, right?
Yep.
Number two, build your warehouse of wealth. Number three, passive income, and then the tax-free wealth transfers, number four, right? So it's a foundation. But like, if you need help budgeting, that's probably a thing that 101 could do for you, right? And then we have lots of people who approach investments from a variety of, some people do real estate, some people do family banking. It could be income snowball, income stacking, DIBS, kind of all under one umbrella, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So yes, so then I went into TARDIS. I wasn't that accumulation model, but what I was starting to realize was that even someone who has $1 million saved up in the bank, now they're saying you can only take 3% of that out. And who's going to live off of $30,000 a year?
Right.
So even though I had reached that goal before 2020, before COVID, in those 401ks and stuff, in that accumulation model, I mean, I remember seeing everything hitting up to $1 million, but still thinking, oh my gosh, I can't even retire now, because it's still only $30,000 that I could take off. So that's when I started looking for other things and other ways too. And that's how I had gotten into TARDIS and learning that cash flow method, which made a lot of sense to me. And I branched off into getting some real estate and some rentals and things like that before TARDIS, just to try and take that I mean, I was all in stocks and bonds, and my 401k and any extra monies was still totally tied into the stock market. So I determined, like, well, I don't really want to be there. So I pulled some of that monies that I could to be able to do some real estate and get some rentals. And then TARDIS came along. And then through TARDIS, learning from Pay and Michael, starting to learn about IBC, and thinking, oh, this is really cool. But my TARDIS coach says that IBC, those policies slow your snowball down. So it was like, okay. And learning TARDIS, right? I'm just learning. So my coach would be like, so what kind of fast burning fuel can you create? Blah, blah, blah. So in my head, in the DIBS, in reading that through Michael and learning more through Michael and Pay too from TARDIS, I was like, how can I make this IBC be a fast burning fuel so my coach will tell me that it's not gonna slow my snowball down.
Right, right.
And thus became how Ter'i'aki got born, right?
Yes,
For our
yes,
dipsters and for our income stackers, because I was bound and determined to figure out how to make IBC work in my snowball without really knowing how IBC didn't slow it down. And that's how
yes.
the creation of that fast burning fuel came. And that was my determination, because I was like, this sounds awesome. Why do they keep telling me it's not gonna work?
So for our listeners, just to give a little context, because Teri's humble and she won't say this, but in the context of like our community that's working on passive income, and if you haven't read Mike Kwong's book, Dibs on Your Money, please read Mike Kwong's book. It's just a fantastic financial literacy book, and
Yes.
wrote it for his daughter when she was in high school. So we can understand it, right? You can wrap your head around it. So there's this community that is, playing with ideas and passive income and income stacking and dibs and all these things. And Teri took it upon herself to experiment and try something. And this experiment, this move, soon became known as the Ter'i'aki method, based on her name, Teri.
We wanted to keep it in the food family.
That's right. That's right. So now people refer to, and there may be people referring to the teriyaki and not even know who Teri is. Yeah. So thank you though for like going, I'm going to try this and see if this works, and proving that it does.
And even now though, I still think about it, in the evolution of things, like, well, that was so simple to think about. Like, why hadn't anyone before me even thought about it? Because it just seems so mainstream now. Like, oh, well, yeah, we can make any policy into an amortized payment,
Yeah.
and for sure it's going to last that 36 months. So still, to me, I even in the back of my head, like, I know where that came from, but at that point in time, it's like, why wasn't that mainstream before? Because it just seems so like, duh, light bulb
Well,
moment.
but if you think about, I think this is a perfect, we always say we learn from our clients all the time, and people probably go, yeah, sure, you guys are the experts, right? Look, we're a community of learners. We're like-minded learners, and we're learning from each other. And it's absolutely true that I learn things from our clients all the time. And you're a perfect example of that, right? Plus, I will say, when you think of the population, what percentage of the population is doing IBC? That's a small segment. What percent of the population is doing income stacking? That's a small. What of that population are putting those two together? So it's such a small group. So when you're saying like, why isn't this mainstream? Well, first we've had to rethink our thinking incredibly. Like, you think about what you were before, the way you thought about money, and what you are now. Like, that's a total shift. Plus, to combine these two concepts together and make it work, it's just a unique small segment of the larger population, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what have you seen with your own personal example of you coming from the kind of income snowball angle and then coming to IBC? I was opposite. I learned, and I'm grateful that I learned the way I did. Not that one or the other, better or worse, to go first or second, but some people learn about both of them at the same time. And I think my little brain would explode trying to learn both concepts at the same time.
I
For
agree.
you, coming from the income snowball and then learning about IBC, what has that been like for you?
It's funny. I'll go back to where we were too, but it was a great tool. Coming from IBC, I mean, coming from the snowball into IBC, it's been a great tool to be able to utilize IBC as a lock if some people needed it. For me, I just went straight into investments, and having that money in my IBC policy that I could use to invest or that I could use to make my own fast burning fuel, teriyaki style.
Right.
And then still have that money compounding when we're utilizing that money in our cash value loan for an investment to make the snowball continue going. It was like, wow, this is pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking my saved money and it going away and never coming back. I'm still having it, earning that compounded interest. So again, almost like oh, this is too good to be true kind of moment. So in that aspect, it became a true benefit.
Mm-hmm.
For me, also on a personal side of my financial journey, I still do have some monies in the stock market and work with some financial advisors who are a part of the Anderson Advisors team, which I went to when I started doing some of my real estate stuff. So I still have them and I still see them, and they don't tell me I can't snowball, but I know they don't understand it. And so I just keep those two things kind of separate.
Kind of
But
like Thanksgiving when you come together as a family,
exactly.
you just agree not to talk about certain topics.
Right. So they still held that part. I don't give them any more. I think they're hoping and praying that this side is going to work out the way it's supposed to, but we just don't talk too much about it. But they had come to a point, okay, Terry, you're going to be, when you turn 50, we have to talk about long-term health care because you don't have anyone who's going to take care of you when you get old. So in learning about IBC and our policies too, knowing those riders that are available on our policies to help with things like that, long-term care. So basically, mathematics and analytical stuff is not my strong suit. So I asked my financial guys, well, hey, how much long-term health care do I need? So I actually got long-term health care quotes, which you never get that money back, like our IBC policies where we can utilize that monies.
Right.
So I basically asked them all about how much dollars do I need, right? So they did their statistics of, oh, you'll be an average of this much. Out in Hawaii, it's like $10,000 a month if you needed long-term care, but it would only be this much. So they gave me a figure.
Okay.
And so for myself, the two policies that I have make that amount in the long care side. So that was like an extra super bonus that I don't have to be putting any expenses towards a long-term care policy that I have within my IBC policy. So that was like for me, bonus, right? And so that means I couldn't wait to start my second policy so that I had enough money that I could just tell them, yep, I got long-term health care covered already. And so I thought, yeah, I'm doing good. And then when I went to boot camp, like we've talked about, and I learned from the beginning to the end of the boot camp side of you guys doing it, it was like, oh man, I went from not even crawling to the marathon world. And I felt sad because I feel like I missed out. I missed out being a baby. I missed crawling. I missed walking. In the investment side, I'm to full bear running here, marathon running. And so it was like, oh, I didn't get to build my bank. I didn't get to just have a debt and pay it off. I didn't get to start to try and figure out how to utilize all of my dollars into my banking system, even though, like I said, I was not one who had debts because I paid for cash. But now I look at how much did I miss of all those things I paid cash for that I had to start saving money over again, that it all could have been within my IBC policy, within my bank. So that's, I was excited because I was like, oh, I got to get more policies and I got to figure out how to make this work. But I really was kind of sad that I missed the stages of all of you, even, one of our fellow people, Ron, and listening to him too, like 10 years in IBC, I missed out all of that. And, as we all say, We wish we did it a long time ago. So I
When's the
still
best time to
wish
plant a tree, right?
that I was in my 20s and learned it and started from that point forward. But it's still, I still now have gone back to go, okay, well, how can I continue to make my IBC work and backtrack some of that stuff if I need to?
Mhm.
Like I'm on my stacking and investment side, but I do still want to build my bank side.
Yeah.
There will have to buy another car at some point in time, and I would love to use my policy for that. I would love to still be able to get more of my income dollars while I'm still working more
Hmm.
into my IBC system as well. So I've got
Right.
a lot of work to do. Even though I'm here, I really want to go back to here to get some of this foundation stuff that I missed.
Yeah. We've all kind of woulda, coulda, shoulda. It's like I learned about IBC in my 40s. Mike Everett learned about it when he was 50, you know, and here he is turning 70 this fall. So he's been doing it for 20 years. I'm now at 16 years with our plan. So you take it wherever you are, and you have an important story to tell as to someone who came from it from the investment side first, right? And then learned it, and it still works.
Absolutely.
It still
Doesn't
works.
matter where you are in there, it can still work.
You brought up a really interesting point of the long-term care insurance, and we're not long-term care insurance experts by any stretch of the imagination. Um, but what you brought up, we've had that conversation with people. We don't advise them on that, but I will say what we did, and it's similar to you. Is I thought, okay, so Nelson Nash's voice was in my head. Why would I pay a premium to somebody when I could maybe do that myself? And so I started thinking, okay, if I'm putting dollars into our banking system and we're buying more and more policies and building more and more death benefit, and there's a built-in rider that doesn't cost me anything extra that says I can get up to 50% of the death benefit. They call them living benefits, that you benefit while you're living. But if I can get up to 50% of my death benefit at a time when I need it for long-term care or whatever,
Yep.
I'm going to want to have a whole lot of death benefit, and meanwhile be able to use the system for myself and not have to pay a premium to somebody for that care that I may or may not need.
Yep.
That's not something we've talked a lot about on the podcast, so I'm really glad that you brought that up, Teri.
But it is so important.
Yeah, it
And
is.
like I said, that was just one of those aside bonuses for me.
Mm-hmm.
um, because I don't even remember. It must have been in the process. I was doing that pretty simultaneously when I was working with Michael on that policy. And I think he was the one that actually said, well, oh, hey, you do have
Mm-hmm.
this rider that's automatically on there. And so then, like I said, that was kind of my push to get, okay, well, I need another policy so
Yes.
that, like I said, my financial advisors, I can push them away. But, but but purely more bonus, but it was another goal for me because it's still, I still have fear of capitalizing on my bank because I still, my mindset of money has always been um really still fear based of not having enough, so
Mm-hmm.
that's deep embedded. I mean, I wasn't raised poor or anything. I just think I'm not a good person under stress, like I said. And so I would rather work more jobs to make sure that I have more money, and
Mm-hmm.
I would spend a whole lot less to make sure that I have enough. So that fear somehow is still deep inside of me of not having enough.
Yeah.
And so I do still, get that kind of like, oh, I'm afraid to get a third policy because what if something happens and I still have to pay these for the rest of my life. So I still have that side talk in my head, but
And
truly,
that may go back to like coming to IBC later Because one
Yes.
of the very first things that I had to overcome, and I came from a save up, pay cash mindset, just like you. But one of the very first mental hurdles that I had to get over was seeing my premium not as a bill, but
Right.
as a deposit.
Right.
Once I finally got that clicked, I was off and running. But it took me a while.
Yeah, and I think that if I hadn't come from snowballing first, that would have been harder for me to grasp.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I really believe that 101 to TARDIS to IBC for me happened exactly as it was supposed to.
Sure.
But like I said, still in my head, I still have that little fear, even though
Mm-hmm.
I hear what you're saying and I totally get it, but there's still that portion that says, but what if you can't? And then it's like,
Yes.
oh, well, then I'll just keep income snowballing or stacking because then I'll for sure be okay on this side. And,
Mm-hmm.
and then eventually all my income, my expenses, all that will be in my banking system.
It is, it is such a, and we say this all the time, babies learn to crawl, right? Then they learn to run, then they learn to walk. And we all go through that. Every single one of us has had to go through that developmental process. So, yeah. I could talk to you for a very, very long time.
Did
Uh,
we make our time?
but I don't even know what it says. But we may have to just schedule another chance to get together and chat if we can steal you away from all of your health and wellness courses and your clients that you're helping. So I just want to say mahalo. Thank you for taking the time in your busy schedule to share with our listeners and share with me some of your life experience and where you come from. I think it's fascinating. I think it's an important story for people to hear. Um, are you still working with 101
I
Finance?
am still an instructor for 101, yes.
If we have people who are listening and they are like, I need help with budgeting, right? Is that something you're open to? Can we put your information out to people?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I love 101 for that purpose
Mhm.
because the product that they have where you put, like probably said it earlier, that product where it's a computer app program, and once you get all your income and your expenses in, it just makes it so easy to track.
Yeah.
I still utilize my system, even with all the investments and everything. I still utilize that system to this day to
Yeah.
know at any given time where my income is, where my expenses are, and what my cash flow is. It is truly the easiest way for people who need a
We
budget
like
to
easy.
get
We
there.
like easy.
Yep.
Yeah. So if people are listening right now and they're kind of curious, how would you like for them to reach out to you? They can always reach out to us and we'll get you connected with Teri, but is there a way they can directly reach out to you?
That my email address. Do you want me to say it here? Will you have it in the
We can put it in the notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my email address or my cell phone number too.
Okay.
I'm very with being as busy as I am. If you want to get a hold of me in a hurry, a text message is the best way to get me.
Okay.
That way, at least in between classes or clients, I usually can send a text within a few minutes if it's something, or at least say I'm not going to be back, to the house until this afternoon or evening back on the
Great.
desktop. So it works great for me. I don't like it
Fantastic.
without having this kind of conversation, but in quick moments where people need me, I love my text message.
I understand. I understand. Teri, thank you so much. This was fantastic. Thanks for sharing your story with us.
Mahalo. And if you want to
Mahalo.
go from thank you, mahalo nui loa means thank you very much.
Nui loa.
Yep. So just
Mahalo
add that
nui
on to,
loa.
yep. Thank you
Very
very much.
nice. Yeah. To our
And
listeners, thank you for joining us again. Please check us out at lifesuccesslegacy.com. We have some fun events coming up in the fall in September. I believe it's the first Saturday of September. I believe it's the 6th. I hope I'm not wrong on that. We are going to be hosting a live boot camp in Lawrence, Kansas, which is where several of us live. And that's where the original boot camp started. And we're going to be doing some fun community things. We're going to have a cookout at Mike Everett's house the night before on Friday. And we hope that if you are able to come, there's no expense for you as long as you come. If you make it, we'll feed you, we'll do the boot camp, the whole thing. We would love to have people come join us in Lawrence, Kansas, the first Saturday of September. So get that on your calendar, and then we'll have that information on our website at lifesuccesslegacy.com. Thanks, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks again, Teri.
Thank you. Aloha.
Aloha.